the witch and the demon king Ravana. So guys, here's Joy Kelly.
Hello. The Ramayana is an epic story. I think it's something like 28,000 verses. And I know they ceremoniously tell it throughout Southeast Asia and India. India, Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, Laos. In Thailand, I know they do it through dance. In Indonesia, they do it through shadow puppets. And since this is broken, I'm not going to use these. Okay. The Ramayana is Hindu, and it means Rama's journey. Raghupati Bhagava Raja Ram Patita Pavan Sita Ram Jai Sita Ram Patita Pavan Sita Ram. Now the story of Rama's journey begins before he was born. His father was Desarata, who was the king of Ayodhya. In that time, India was divided up in many different kingdoms, and Desarata was the king of one of those kingdoms. He had 3 wives, but no children. He was very, very concerned about that, of course, because he wanted an heir to his throne. One day, he was out hunting, and he saw a deer sort of skitter past a tree and go to the stream. So he got out his bow and arrow and he aimed at the deer, and he got the deer. And when he approached it, he saw it wasn't a deer at all, but a boy who was lying there dying. As Desarata kneeled over the boy in tears, the boy looked up and said, "All I want is for you to bring me home to my parents. My parents are both blind, and they should hold me." And so Desarata picked up the boy, and he took it to his parents. And the parents were indeed blind, and they were very, very distraught to see their child had been killed, because by the time Desarata got there, the child had died. His blind father pointed his face towards where he thought Desarata was, and he said, "Your child will cause your death. You will make many sacrifices, but your son will cause your death." And Desarata didn't know how to take this because he didn't have any children. And he said, "But I don't have any children. How can this be?" And the blind man looked at him again and said, "You will make many sacrifices, and your son will cause your death." So Desarata went home, and he did make many, many sacrifices. He burned incense. He sacrificed animals. He did special things. And one day, in the smoke of the incense, there came a golden being. And the golden being gave 2 biscuits to Desarata and said, "Give one of these biscuits to your first wife, and give this other biscuit to your second wife. And ask each of them to break a piece of it off and give it to your third wife." And that's what he did. He took those biscuits. He gave it to his eldest wife, to the second wife, and they each broke a piece of it and gave the 2 pieces to the younger wife. And within a year, Desarata had 4 sons. His first wife gave birth to Rama. His second wife gave birth to Bharata. His third wife gave birth to twins because she had 2 pieces of biscuit. Desarata was so proud of his sons. He gave them the best of training. He even sent them to live in the forest and learn the ways of the forest, and to learn magic, and to learn about their spirituality and about the gods. But it seemed that Rama had a closer contact with the gods. I know in the Hindu religion, Rama is considered an ideal man. Whenever you see pictures of Rama, he is painted blue, which is a sacred color. And he was the favorite of Desarata. He was also the favorite of all the people who lived in Ayodhya. And so Desarata grew old, and he was retiring from the throne, he made the announcement that Rama will take his place as king of Ayodhya. And all the people in Ayodhya rejoiced, and they feasted, and they sang, and they danced. All but one person. Dasarata's second wife. She went to a room called the mourning room. She started to cry. She started to wail. She started to moan and weep loudly. And Dasarata came and asked her, "What is wrong?" And she said, "You have broken your promise to me. You told me that when we were married, my son will be king. And now you have announced that Rama, the first wife's son, will be king, and my son Bharata will be nothing. You have broken the promise." And at that time, breaking promises was a very, very serious thing. And Dasarata did not want to break his promise, so he had to change his announcement. And he changed it. Bharata will be king. But the second wife also made another demand. She said, "You must send Rama away for 14 years. Rama agreed to this because he didn't want any stress or strife in the palace or within Ayodhya. So Rama, with his new wife Sita, beautiful Princess Sita, that's a whole other story, and one of the twins, Lakshmana, went to live in the forest for 14 years. Now, when they entered the forest, they were met by sages and ascetics and other wise creatures who were very happy to have him and to help him. One sage gave Rama a spear. He said, "This is a magical spear. Be careful how you use it." And another sage brought Rama and Sita and Lakshmana to a sparkling stream where the field was lush, the trees were green, and there were beautiful flowers. And that is where Rama and Sita and Lakshmana decided to make their home. They met many creatures in this forest. Many magical creatures. There were demons that lived in the forest. There was a big bird that liked to keep watch over them, sat up in a tree right above their house. One day, while they were going through the forest, they were met by Surpanaka. Now, Surpanaka was a demon, but she could change her shape, and she didn't want to go looking like a demon. So she changed into a sexy, sultry kind of woman and sidled up to Rama and said, "You need to do away with that excuse for a woman, Sita, and marry me. Between our two powers, we can rule the world." Rama would have none of it. He said, "I'm already married. Why don't you go to my brother Lakshmana? He's not married. Maybe he'll have you." And so she sidled up to Lakshmana, who was also very handsome, and she said, "Between you and me, we can do away with this so-called kingship that Rama is supposed to inherit, and we can rule the world." And Lakshmana did not want to marry a demon, and so he said no, and he sent her back to Rama. Sarvanath was getting a little frustrated about this. So she focused all her anger on Sita, because she believed if Sita was not there, then these men, at least one of them, would marry her. And so she raised her arms and prepared to attack Sita. Rama saw what was happening. He shielded his wife and he said, "Lakshmana, protect us." Lakshmana pulled out an arrow and aimed it at Surpanaka and got her in the nose. Oh, her nose was broken. She put her hands over her nose and she screamed, "How could you do this to me?" And she fell down a little heap, tears and blood. So Rama took Sita and Lakshmana and they went back home. They were glad to escape this terrible demoness. But Surpanaka was going to tell her brother. Now her brother wasn't just a regular brother. He wasn't even just a regular demon. He was King Ravana. Ravana was the king of Lanka, which in Hindu means island. Lanka is off the coast of southern India, and it is now known as Sri Lanka. But in ancient times, Ravana was once there.